and let them have dominion.
The kingdom of God is within people. It's the advancement of the people that is advancement
Because
of the kingdom.
faith must be backed by the assignment of this ministry is found from that verse where we.
You're onto a word encounter as Pastor David Ogbueli ministers God's word to you with simplicity and power. God bless you.
He created them to control the earth, to control the circumstances on earth, just like God controls the heavenlies.
You know, the person you're married to is not the only one you should know. And should not be only friend that you have. Amazingly, there's a lady in the Bible, very wise woman, a very beautiful woman at the same time. It's hard to, you know, it's usually rare to see beauty combined with wisdom. Most of the time you find wisdom but no beauty. Other times you find beauty no wisdom. But that big girl had both. But amazingly, such women have a way of marrying some foolish men. I don't know why, but hard-working, intelligent women, they have a way of, and it might be part of God's plan. Maybe life requires balance. You can't have everything in one person. You have a mountain. How are we going to call it a mountain if not that it's usually beside a valley? If the valley is also high, everything will become level ground. But I noticed something about Abigail. I also noticed something about David, those two guys. Why David was still starting in life, he had the opportunity to meet Abigail's husband. And the man so insulted him, insulted the future king. Because he was just a young boy wandering about, struggling. But Abigail saw David and knew that this man is going somewhere. And extended her social capital, extended grace, extended giftings. She had money, they were wealthy at that time. But of course, down the line, her husband died. And guess what happened? The moment she finished mourning, she just moved from one marriage to another. Some people are looking for first husband. Another person wise enough can have seventh husband even if they keep dying. Jesus talked about a woman like that in the Bible. He said this woman, one guy married this lady, died. Another man came, married her, and died. By the time they were through, they were about 6 or 7. So I think the Pharisees who crafted the question said, in heaven, whose wife will she be? But I took note of that. I also took note of the ability for one person to keep transiting. That lady will be the Abigail type. So the other people, they will lose their spouse. They are not interested in marrying, but there are so many people around to help them. Because relationship is a capital you have to cultivate. It's a social capital. I noticed that Jesus grew in 4 ways. So I'm going to show you that scripture. Luke chapter 2, verse 40. If you're growing, you need to develop these 4 major areas. Jesus developed about 5 major areas. Remember I told you yesterday, life is a balance between 5 things. Your faith, your family, your finances, your health, and your future. Each one you neglect is the one that will suffer, and that one will have a way of spoiling all the other ones. For example, you are doing well with your faith and you neglect your health. When you get sick, it's going to mess up a lot of other things. If somebody is doing well in ministry and neglects his health, when you break down, it's going to keep you from ministry. Some people, in the course of pursuing money, lose their faith. So the key to life is balance. Just keep those areas balanced. And that means you have to constantly review your life to make sure you're not neglecting any of these 5 major areas. And one of those areas we tend to neglect, I have found out, is our marriages. We take the people we married for granted. Before you married them, you can escape from the office just to go and visit them. You will make time to call them. You will find time to pursue them. You will spend money to buy them gifts. You will do everything to woo them. Before you marry the man, ladies, you always like to dress up just to impress your man. You don't want them to meet you with your hair scattered. You don't want them to meet you smelling. You don't want them to meet you, with your mouth smelling and all that. After you marry them, you start taking the same person for granted. The key to keeping your marriage sweet is to keep doing those things you did to get the person. It's simple. You don't do it to get people. You do it to keep them. Even though the marriage covenant puts an obligation on us to stay, whether you keep doing it or not, we will stay, because that's what the covenant is all about. But it doesn't mean that the people will be happy. Luke chapter 2, this is the life of Jesus. So all of us will see how to build a balanced life. How to build a balanced life. Verse 40. The child, this is Jesus we're talking about here. The child grew. That statement is physical development. That is what we call your health, your fitness. Growing physically. He was a child who was growing, a healthy boy. That's why you never heard that he was sick one day. The child grew, became strong in the spirit. This is faith, your faith life, your spiritual life. Became strong in the faith. That's what we call spiritual capital. Your physical capital is your strength, your health. It's an asset. Never lose it. Protect it. Tend to it. The same thing with that of your spouse. Help each other. Live a healthy life. Now, the third one is, he was filled with wisdom. Wisdom is usually what we need to drive this path. Our career, our business, our success depends on it. Our prosperity depends on it. That aspect is intellectual growth, intellectual development. Intellectual development. Some other people said is usually used to drive the fifth one, whichever way. But intellectual development. But the idea is that Jesus developed his spirit, developed his intellect, developed his body. If he's today, I'm sure he will be going to the gym, building a very good physique. But then they walk so much, they trek so much that you don't need gym. Those running around for 30 minutes, what they trek in one day cancels all that. So, and then the last one is that, and the grace of God was upon him. That's relationship, social capital. Like when he said grace, now he's talking about favor. He's somebody that people liked. Let me show it to you in verse 52. So you will see it mentioned in another form. In verse 52, the child increased in wisdom. That's still the intellectual development, which creates your wealth and your success. The child increased in stature. That's physical health. The other two is that he increased in favor with God. That is developing your spirit. That's spiritual development. I hope you know how to have favor with God. Without faith, it is impossible to please God. It's developing your faith, your spiritual life. A life that is pleasing to God. Then the last one is in favor with men. That is social capital. You will see that if I compare Jesus to John, it wasn't exactly the same thing. Let me make the comparison. Chapter 1 verse 8. Jesus had a more balanced life than John the Baptist. John never attended a party. You see Jesus in functions. You see him. I'm telling you, Jesus had very powerful relationships. Very powerful. He had very influential people. Some will come to him in the night. You saw that the day he died, he was a very wealthy man that decided the man said Jesus will be buried in my tomb. Tomb he made for himself. Nobody has been laid there. In order for Jesus to be buried there. He was one that went to Pilate and asked for his body. He had all those kind of people. Apart from his disciples. Talking about the public, the Bible said the common man heard him gladly. He had enemies, but they were the religious leaders. The powerful institutions of his day. Today, you talk about Catholic Church and some of these institutions. Not being jealous of the crowd he was pulling. Now look at John, verse 80. 1 verse 80. So the child grew and became strong in spirit, and was in the desert till the day of his manifestation to Israel. Don't put yourself in the desert and say you are practicing Christianity. We are not disciples of John. We are disciples of Jesus. The guy was in isolation. He doesn't have friends. Now, some callings might require that, but let's be sure it's God that called you to do that. It's not food that he could eat. He was only eating locusts and honey. Now, some of you might be practicing your Christianity after John's model. There is only one model before us, is Jesus Christ. Can I hear you say amen? It's Jesus Christ. Balance. Knowledge he has. Books he reads. Spiritually, he's strong. Socially, the guy is loaded. Then when it comes to, physically, he's healthy. I wish above all things that you may prosper, be in health, even as your soul prospereth. John only had one thing. He was spiritually developed, and that's why he was a prophet. Could hear from God, do all those things. Had strong anointing. Socially, zero. Financially, we didn't hear anything because he was wearing camel skin in the bush. You can be a prophet like that. I have seen this is the Son of God, God in fullness, the fullness of God. So not God in partiality. Get a full picture of him. That's why I like what you just did now. The songs, that's part of it. Spirit, 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 spirit. Spirit, spirit, spirit. God has set some of us as an example for many. So, but I won't lie to you to teach you that you need to have balance. You need to sometimes take yourself out, take your spouse out. Why does bad things happen to good marriages? That's what we're discussing. I want to help you conquer some of the challenges. And let's stop assuming that people who are Christians and people who are godly don't have challenges. You are joking. There are some people who give that impression. They are lying to you. There is no marriage that doesn't have its challenges. Each one has. What makes a good marriage is not the absence of challenges. It's the commitment of two people to weather through it. That's what I'm saying. All this collapse of marriages in recent times, divorce here and there, separation. Your parents faced worse things and they stayed together. The problem is that what is causing the defeat now is in our mind. False expectations, might, and assumptions that we have gathered. Some of them pumped down here by the Western nations and their media, and it's causing all that. There are couples I know, no child, and I met a couple, for example, stayed with that family for about 2 weeks, a week, then I came back another time, no child. They are together in their 70s and late 60s for the woman, and they are very happy. When you come in there, you see children that they've raised. They are their own children now, but they didn't have them. That's enough to separate another couple. That's enough to make some other people miserable. What makes you miserable is your perception, not the reality. The same reality you are facing, other people are facing it and they are happy. Is the way you are looking at it. Is your interpretation. That's what is called the power of attitude. That attitude determines altitude. It determines happiness. It determines how well you do in life. If you're going to be a happy couple, your attitude is the first thing. Your attitude. How you look at that stuff. Let's look at it. The 5, what makes marriage work? There are 5 powerful questions for solving marriage problems. The first one will be, what really makes marriages work? What? Is it more money? Is it that the two people are so much in love? For example, one of the considerations is it love? It's not. Love never makes any marriage successful. Love, the purpose of love is to bring two people together. I showed you yesterday. Love is what causes you to get disappointed. Love is what causes you to get hurt. The more you love, the more you hurt. Love does not make a marriage alone. A marriage succeed. The first thing that makes a marriage work is positive attitude. What? Attitude. Attitude. The same problem now that you're complaining about, murmuring about, that is frustrating you, another person has it and the person is happy. Your attitude is your decision. You choose your attitudes, and then your attitude decide how your life turns out. The amazing thing about attitude is that you are the one that chooses it. Your attitude is decided by your perception, how you see things. It's the interpretation you are giving to things that is causing the problem. Change the way you look at that thing. Look at it from another. There is something good in what you're complaining about. Complain about your husband, complain about your wife, complain about this, complain about this. A wise man said that every problem has an equal opportunity for advantage. That all opportunities are usually hidden in problems. There's a friend I have. This guy has stayed with me for years, but there's just something about him that is not very productive. I wanted him to be as productive as myself. I wanted him to be dynamic. But I also realized that this guy is always available anytime I look for him. Anytime we need to talk, anytime we need to do something, any project that is on the ground, kingdom project, he's always available. And one day I was really complaining about the way he is not very... But every time you do like this, he is available. And then the Lord said, don't take it for granted. Be grateful that every tree is not Iroko. That song has to be mango. That song has to be this way. Stop complaining about, look at things differently. Look at things differently. It's attitude though. And from that day, I started appreciating him more, and I will bless him and I will be glad. And then the Lord said, have you noticed that this guy is very intelligent? He has a lot of resources in his mind, but you are the one that do more. But he thinks more. He is a research person. He will sit on the internet throughout the night. You don't have that grace. I noticed that. He said, number 2, have you noticed that he's a networker? Every time I bring him, we build a team to carry out any kingdom project, a team of ministers. Ministers have their own problems. They have their ego problems and all that. This is the one that is always keeping everybody together. Now, have you noticed why I made him the way he is? So that he can be the super glue. Whenever I put him in a group, no matter the quarrel that comes up, he's the one that will get everybody back together. He says, so he's solving more problems for you than those you think that are running around. And everything changed. The relationship, the frustration in the relationship disappeared. Nothing has changed. The guy has not changed what he's doing. I just change how I look at him. That's the only thing. That's all. That woman you are complaining about, you are just focusing on her negative. That man you are just complaining about, you're focusing on all his faults. That man has more positive things than the faults you're focusing on. You know, if I'm wearing white now and I have one spot here, you know, maybe oil or something, I'm eating okra soup or whatever, and just a little spot, it becomes glaring and you forget the whole white. You just be looking at that yellow stuff. That's how we look at it. That's why we are fault finders. That's why we are complainers. That's why we are murmurers. That's why we are. And one little thing spoils the whole thing you can enjoy. A beautiful wife that God has given you. A very kind, a nice person. She might have weakness. Everybody is not designed to be strong in everything. I'm supposed to be strong somewhere. And not, because if I'm strong in everywhere, I don't need you. What are you doing in my life? The reason for marriage is that I need somebody to compliment me where I'm weak. Then you too, you need, because you too, you're not perfect. I had a very serious discussion with Pastor Sarah along this line, you know, because our first year there was complaint, wahala, you didn't do this, you did this. I will complain, and then she will also complain her own. Then somewhere along the line we realized that everybody has something to complain about too. Just because one person is not talking doesn't mean you are fine. Since I'm not perfect, you are not. I think there must be a lesson to learn in this thing. If I don't roll well as a tire, and you can, roll the tire thing. Let me be, maybe I'm seat. Find my own use, find my own value, and the complaint ends. Attitude. So it's not that they have more money. People who have less money than you are happy. It's not that they have more love. People who have less love than you have with your wife are happy. People are succeeding with less resources than what you have. It's no more resource. People with more resources are breaking down their marriages. You say, I don't understand, because my problem with this marriage is that he comes back by 10 p.m. every day. You know, some people are married to politicians. Esther will not see her husband in 3 months. To see the man, she needed to fast. Husband that God gave her. To go and see your husband, you do fast in 3 days and ask people to pray for you. Because entering there might take your life. And you don't see her complaining. She fulfilled her assignment, fulfilled her purpose. And there are people, some are married to presidents, some are married to whatever, politicians, some are married to all kinds of people, some are married to doctors, calls in the night, calls here. And you are complaining about what you have. Perception is stronger than reality. When your mind is set in a particular way, it colors how you see things. They said that an attitude, or what is called a worldview, is also called a paradigm. There are lenses that we wear that color what we see. And we don't see reality as it is. We see them as we are. We see them according to our lenses. But you know what I've learned? If the world looks blue, check. It's your lenses that are making it. If you start looking yellow, but you know what? You can change those lenses. You can change your mindset. You can change your perception. And you can change how happy you become. Happiness is a choice. Being grumpy and complaining and murmuring is a choice. Bad attitude is a choice. You can choose to be happy. Amen. I'm a happy person. Happily married. I don't have headache. If you have, it's your own business. I don't have headache. I love what I have. I believe that God gave me the best there is. Simple. It's not having a boy or having a girl that makes you a happy couple. Look at girls with another eyes. Who told you that boys are better? Be careful. Because you say because of girls, it might be the girls that will look after you. Oh. What makes a child is the investment you put inside them. The kind of are you hearing what I'm saying? No. That your son too might be the one that will kill you. After Absalom, was he not the one that almost killed David? So, is the investment, male or female, is the investment, the kind of training. Because if you invest and produce a type of lady called virtuous woman, Bible said even in her husband's house, a lot of women believe that is the man that must provide, build house. Have you read about virtuous woman? She buys land, she builds houses, she builds businesses, she does all sorts of things to the extent that her husband just relaxes with the men in the gates and he's just enjoying. No, his mindset is my own type. No, he must be the one to buy me this. He must be the one to. It's your word. The size of your word is the size of your mind. So whatever limit you like, put on yourself. God is not the one putting it. Abraham's wealth came through Sarah. Twice. Sarah had this social contact. She's beautiful. And presidents just keep pursuing her. Like the Obasanjo girls. Those girls brought wealth to their families, whether you like it or not. And in the case of Sarah, none of them could take her to bed because not only that she's a godly woman, God also stood there, But they kept pursuing her, and they were award contract to Abraham, give him all sorts, give him land, give him properties, give him all that. Yes, now. The OBS, the question is, the Kunyilis, and all the whatever. That's how God described virtuous women. Virtuous women actually bring not just virtue, they bring wealth. They are women of dignity, they are women of honor. They bring wealth to them, and they change the whole landscape of their family. Yes. So mindset, how we look at things. I saw a lady that God blessed with such a wonderful opportunity in US. She was, earning some mind-blowing figures. She got into United Nations, but she will still complain and murmur about it. I said, what is it? He said, he has never bought me anything in this house. I said, like what? He said, He said, that car, I bought it. This one, I bought it. This house, I bought it. I said, did God make a mistake by choosing you to be the channel? He could have been the channel now. Is it not the blessing that you are even the channel? Because of that, wahala. She started dating one crazy Nigerian guy. I asked to see this guy. That just does nothing. He's doing nothing in US. He's just living on this woman and just sleeping with her. Meanwhile, she left a hard-working husband that earns money, that's trying her best to help raise, I said, my friend. So, perception. And sometimes, perception can be shaped by culture, the environment. Because sometimes, like in US now, you have become a cultural thing. Some of these things get to a point that it looks like everybody's doing this, everybody's doing that. So you just key in. And, you forget that we who are God's people have a worldview that is different from how the world sees things. My thoughts are higher than your thoughts. My ways are higher than your ways. We have God's worldview. We have biblical worldview. And it has worked. It keeps working. And it will always work. So the other things that make a good marriage, like empathy. Empathy is about putting yourself in the other person's shoe. It helps you to forgive. It helps you to make excuses for your friend. It helps you. Sometimes you reverse role. can even make yourself a man if you're a woman, and make just in your mind. Yeah, it helps you. Sometimes you put yourself in another person's shoe. Men, sometimes you need to put yourself in your wife's shoe. You are the one running around with those kids, carrying this pregnancy, doing all this. It will help you to have patience with that woman. Empathy. It helps you to understand. And then, of course, commitment. You know, people who commit to stay with each other, to love each other, to support each other no matter what. Forgiveness. These are the things that make marriages work. You see people who have been there for a long time. There are people who have forgiven each other, who have this attitude, commitment to keep forgiving each other. That's just the key. For anybody to think that maybe some people are lucky, or maybe they are blessed with this conflict-free marriage, is a joke. All marriages have conflict. And that you bring two people, even with your own brothers, you grew up in the same house, you quarrel, how much more? Another person brought up in a different environment with a different way of thinking. But you know, marital agreement, marital commitment does not demand that you must always agree. It doesn't mean you must always see things the same way. That's one thing you have to understand. Because part of the key to living a marital life is learning to resolve conflict positively. You can disagree without being disagreeable. I can't always make Pastor Sarah see things the way I see it. I don't bother about trying to do that. The areas she has her own ideas about how things should be. And sometimes she is right, sometimes I'm right, sometimes I find out that I'm wrong, it doesn't make any difference. She has right to have an opinion about things. Sometimes I'm discussing someone and she has this opinion. I don't think they will make a good couple. Sometimes I think that they will. And I leave it. As long as I have not heard from God on the issue, I leave that issue, Time has a way of proving. And in many cases I find that I'm wrong too. So being in love and being whatever doesn't mean we must see things the same way. When some people now take it upon themselves to start shaping perception and making people, you get into things that God didn't tell you to do. And you create unnecessary heartbreaks and problems. Okay, let's go into a few things today. Why bad things happen to good marriages. We dealt with unfulfilled expectations yesterday. People come into marriages carrying this picture of what the other person must be like. And I think ladies have the problem, maybe 70% of the problem. Men too have. And then we end up being hurt because the guy is not meeting up your expectation. Then we have, the unexamined self. You think you know yourself well, but there is a blind self, a part of you that you don't even know, that other people see, but you don't know it. You think you are this way, but that part shows up all the time. It could be an attitude problem, it could be something, and then the hidden self, the part of you that you hide, you try to hide. Some of these things cause problems. They cause problems. Then there is this aspect of skill. Marriage is a combination of two things. Marriage is first who you are and then what you do. For example, when we tell you to love your wife, that is something that you do. When we teach couples about communication skills, that's something that you do. But marriage is first of all fundamentally who you are. You bring your personality. If you're a positive person, you bring it. If you're a sarcastic person, you just carry it out to another person. It's first who you are. Then secondly, what you do. So when it comes to the doing side of marriage, we talk about skills for effective marriage. There are certain skills, and this is where I'm going to make a recommendation to all of us. If you want to have a wonderful marriage, there are skills that we need to learn. There are a number of them. Start investing in buying marriage books. If it's once in a month, add a new skill or improve on an old one. For example, once people start complaining about sex, they are not fulfilled sexually. It's not who you are problem. It's not a being problem. It's a doing problem. It's a skill that is missing. A couple I had to deal with, the issue is the wife never gets to experience sexual fulfillment, but it's just a skill. Unhealthy choices, I wish I can spend a lot of time on that, but I want to talk on that skill thing. You need to start cultivating skills. For example, communication skill, how to talk, conflict resolution skills, how to manage conflict, because it will keep coming. There's no two ways about it. Disagreement will come and all of that. How do you handle that? So when you are having problems along this line, it's not something abnormal. It's just something you don't know that is making it worse. And you have to pay the price now to learn what you don't know. If you have to buy the book, when you finish reading, you give your husband, then you will now find time to sit down to discuss that this book is really good on communication. And I noticed that we can also improve. You might not even discuss it from the problem perspective. He said, I think, we can also improve the quality of our communication. Because there's also a way to say things, to avoid conflict or to solve problems. These are some of the things. There are a lot of them. About 12 major skills are fundamental to running the family. For example, financial management in the home. You have to look into it. There are good books on it. These 5 areas, you must invest in them. Your faith to your family, your parenting is a skill. Good people can be failing in that area because they don't know what they should know. Your health to your finances, and then of course your future, your ministry, your destiny. Let me look at this 5 powerful questions for solving marriage problems. Any couple, look at this. Marriage counselors around the world believe that couples that honestly consider and answer these questions throughout their married lives will rarely, if ever, need marital therapy or help. Couples that ask questions like this hardly ever, and this thing will work up to 90% and above. Hardly ever need help from anywhere. See the first question. What is it like being married to me? You are not asking your spouse. You're not asking anybody. You are asking yourself. Write it down. What you are asking is, you're a man. You want to ask yourself, if I'm the way I am now, what does it really feel like another person marrying me? What does it feel like being married to me? Then sometimes you also reverse the role. If I'm actually a woman behaving the way I behave, will a man live with me? The way I am now, the way I do things, am I a blessing or a problem to another human being? The principle there is that the key to successful marriage is not finding the right person. It is being the right person. This question helps you. And the key is that once people start asking this kind of question, they won't be need, because they will constantly be solving. making discovery. The first key to cure, the first key to healing, the first key to improvement is awareness. Once you don't know that you are doing anything wrong, you will never change. You will never change. What the questions will do is that they help you awaken the knowledge or get you aware of certain realities that you might not know. Because we told you that you have a blind self, the part of you that you don't see, but other people see it. You know, sometimes people see this woman is sarcastic, this woman is like this. The only person that doesn't see is the person. People see the bad attitude, the person that has it can't see it. And that's why they are not able to change for year in, year out. What is it like being married to me? Number 2. This is the one you ask to your wife or your spouse. And this is the kind of thing I do with Pastor Sarah once in a year. We just do it once in a year. We'll have a period, our anniversary will clear out. That's when we renew the marriage covenant. And we sit down to do some heart-to-heart talk. And I ask, are there areas you want me to improve on, to be a better husband to you? How do I meet your needs better in this relationship? Do you have some unmet needs that are frustrating you? Some things I'm doing, and if I improve it this way, you see, I'm the one asking. So I'm not waiting for you to murmur and throw it in the way that it spoils the air. That day will come and sit down. I'm going to ask, she's going to ask. How? And then I really want you to be honest with me, because my goal is to make you happy. I'm here. I want you to be a fulfilled person. You know, being married to me, I want you to. And then, of course, person will tell you. And then you make the commitment immediately to work on it. There are some cases I said, I will also need your help, because, you know, this particular thing, I might not improve on it overnight. You will help me, you know. It takes all the tension away, all the things that are causing wahala. It takes all the tension straight away. It makes what used to be a problem and a frustration, it turns two of you into partnership in working it out. Number 3 is related to number 2. What will make me a better husband or a better wife? Sometimes they also include a better father. These are self-probing questions. Okay, number 4. I've answered this one. This one is general for two of you to really understand what really makes a marriage good or makes a marriage work. The purpose of this question is to clear the assumption that maybe more money, a bigger house, better cars, so that you stop pursuing shadows. The last is another question you ask yourself. See, 2 you ask yourself, 2 you ask the other person, and 1 you can discuss together. What makes a marriage work is something you people need to discuss and get it right. Now, this last question is to yourself again. What are my own frustrations in this relationship? What are those things that are causing me frustration, that is causing me pain? And if you want to get it right, you have to ask yourself, what are my expectations of this person that is not being met? What are the expectations I have of him? I expect him to do this. I expect him to know that my mother was sick, to ask me how she's doing. I expect him to give me a card on my birthday. I expect him anytime I'm coming from work that she should be at the door, open the door and welcome me. I expect that she shouldn't have said that to me in the public where my friends were. I expect. Most of your frustration, and I will tell you, over 80% of them are coming from this particular area. Expectations you have, and of course the guy is not. And you know the amazing thing, when you finish asking yourself and you observe what they are, I expect that he should have kissed me further and done this further and not just come like that. Next time he start disturbing me, one sex. Should allow me. I expect that he should understand that I'm just coming back from work. Now, you know, when you ask these questions to yourself, you finally find out what they are. The problem is the other person does not know what is frustrating you. You now have to sit down and say, there are just some things that are really creating problems for me. And I know it's not your fault, but it's just that you don't really know that those things are important to me this way. And I think I need to be honest with you. This is where candor will help to solve a lot of problems. Because I told the lady, I said, okay, you are frustrated. Saying, I don't love my husband. I said, it's not true. You love him. How did you marry him? Did your father force you? No. Did anything force you? Okay, tell me the story how you met. They were in love and so many wonderful things. She even disobeyed her parents and went after the man. I said, so how can you tell me now that you don't love him? He said, Pastor, you don't understand. This man is very selfish. I said, tell me, doesn't he give you money? Doesn't he pay the bills and all? He said, it's not those ones. I said, what is it? He said, each time he comes back, he just wants sex. Once he satisfies himself, he rolls away and sleeps off. One day I felt like killing him, squeezing him to death in that place. I just sat through at night and I was watching him snore while he left me here hanging in the middle of nowhere. I said, okay, the problem is very simple. The problem is very simple. Premature ejaculation, all kinds of stuff, just get him down this night. Sitting down. I said, before there's something that has been frustrating me that I'm going to tell you. Paint a picture for him. Sometimes you use word picture of a woman that has been starved and starved and starved. Yet in the office, her boss appreciates her, pays compliment, does all that. And she finally fell in one day. I said, tell him this kind of story. Make it interesting. And then he will want to know, is that your friend? Who is the person? What kind of... You tell him that you're almost driving me to this kind of... They say, how? So I've been married to you 2 years now. I have not had one. He said, but Pastor, how can I tell him that kind of thing? I said, okay, be direct. Tell him what is happening to you and what you are not. Be direct. He said, no, I can't. I said, why? He said, he would think that I'm a spoiled girl, that I'm wide. Hidden self. Things we want to. Don't want people to see us this way. Don't want to. So because of that, we pack things and we are dying in silence. No. No. Communication, open communication destroys most of the frustration in marriage. They will load salt. I like salt. Pastor Sarah observed after marrying me that I even tried to add. She was one trying to talk to me that this table salt and it's not good for your health and all that. So I said, okay, so you should make my food, So they now started loading it. I noticed that, first time I checked, who brought this food here? It will be the girl in the house. But they told her to put salt. She's now, but she didn't test the food. She wouldn't check. She has not monitored her to make sure that she has mastered what it is. And two things will happen. I'll leave the food. I won't eat it. They will bring the next one. The next time, they bring another one. They are not getting the message that the reason he's not touching his food. And one day, the Holy Spirit will ask me, you are just leaving the food, expecting the food to communicate. You want Pastor Sarah to read your mind, use word of knowledge or what? What is your problem? Why can't you say what it is? And If you keep going like this, finally you're going to say it in a very negative way. Don't do that. Oh, and say, I want to come and test this thing. So she tested. He said, how did you put this kind of salt into it? I said, no, this is what they've been giving me. Oh, have you noticed I have not been I've not been touching on it? He said, yes. I've been wondering. I said, maybe you are in the spirit again, like you normally. I said, which spirit? So I said, I have to do something about this thing. You know? So it comes out right. It comes out right. Just go down. Let's see if we can pick out a few things from here. 5 good things that can turn bad for couples. These are blessings that come, but they end up ruining many marriages. I will show you how they do it. Intimacy is the first one. Intimacy, that we are close. I'm very close to my husband. We are really in love. Things are happening wonderfully. That can become another problem in your marriage when intimacy becomes invasion of privacy. Becomes invasion. I think they didn't type it completely. Invasion of privacy. In marriage, people need space. Okay, go down. Let's take some of them. Second one, babies. Babies can become a burden. You see, want a baby, we're praying for a baby. God bless us with a baby. This is a blessing. These are 5 blessings that can become a big problem. The third one is sex. There are many ways that sex becomes a problem. One of the notorious one we see all the time is some people turn sex into a weapon of warfare, especially women. Some turn it into a weapon of negotiation. All the things they could not say will wait till you come near in the night. Then whatever. Wait first. The money that I've been asking you for my whatever, I needed to give my dad some money. You've been delaying it now. You have come. Let's discuss it first. Have you forgotten that you promised me that you're going to buy me that suit? And now the month finished, you didn't buy it. Now we are here again. Let's finish discussing. The man is already in cloud 7, about to. The aircraft is just taking off. You know, you start this kind of talk. Hey, that's the wrongest time for. Some ladies even start preaching, sharing the Bible at that moment. Look at career. God, give us a job. God, promote me. Promotion. You see them January, binding the thing. Give first fruit. Promotion. Promotion hits by March. April. They made him a manager. Now, career leads to time-starved marriage. It's no more time for that marriage. You need to read this book. You need to read it. Last one is growth. Growth now leads to drifting apart. In ministry, we talk to our pastors about this. When you are growing, you are learning, you are attending courses, attending trainings, leadership school. This coming week now, we have chartered a management school to come and run HR, run business management, run marketing for all the pastors and leaders. And of course, anybody can attend. Then this coming week, we are running deliverance school, all that. I said, when you are attending all this and you are growing, you leave your wife behind. When you finish growing, you get to, your temperature is 90 degrees. Your wife's own is 10 degrees. You know, cold water when mixed with hot water, which one will reduce? Hot water will come down. So, till he meets the level of the. Because gravity is to the advantage of the one that is down. It's you that is up that will be pulled down. I have never seen gravity help the person up. You are up, your wife is down, and two of you are pulling. Even if you have equal strength or she is weaker, gravity will give her additional leverage, and you will find an end up joining her. It's like somebody is inside the pit, you're on top, trying to pull him out. You have to be very careful. You see growth. So what we teach couple is that as you grow, make sure you take her along. It's so serious that when you go and get certain things, maybe there are circumstances that will make it that she will not be there. Get tapes, get books. When you come back, just don't, that's what some people do. When they want you to read a book, it becomes another complaint. You don't always read. So when we start discussion, you're always behind. What you do to get people to do something is to awaken their interest. My God, you need to hear what we learned today. What this man, my life was changed. You just keep talking from that angle. What people were saying after the meeting. I just said that I just brought a few tapes, so you need to hear these tapes. When you use the principle of motivation, the person wants to. No matter how busy they will find time. That tape. But when your husband finds out that you brought one tape, how to love your wife, to oppress him, so that he will whatever, he will look at the tape. Okay, how to love your wife. Next time he sees what men are looking for that women don't know, he will buy it for you. Do those things because, like investment. Remember, when you train a man, you have trained a person. When you train a woman, you have trained a family. Whatever gets to your wife gets to the children. That's the way it works. People who neglect the development of their spouses are making a big mistake. When you marry a person, God has given you the raw material for creating the kind of husband or wife that you need. The way to do it is not by forcing change. The way to do it is to invest in their growth. It's not by trying to force the person to change. Invest in their growth. That all growths are the result of renewal of mind. The more we learn, the more our world internally expands, our world externally expands. All behaviors are first thoughts or mindsets. You sow a thought, you reap an action. You sow an action, you reap a habit. You sow a habit, you reap a destiny. So all behaviors are thought or mindsets. See, the person keep doing something in a particular way. He has a mindset that's producing that action. When you want to change people, don't try to force people to change. Don't try to remove people. Just invest in their mind. Invest in their growth. And you will see that result over time. Invest books, invest tapes. Inspire them to attend a seminar, to attend this, to be in this environment. And then over time you see what you are looking for. There's a friend of mine, he's leading a very powerful ministry, continental ministry for that matter. But I got to South Africa and noticed that damages, all the relationships, they had their damage. Apostle Ben will come here, I will say, give him a call. He said he doesn't want to see him. He's this, he's that. Wahala everywhere. I looked at him, he's a good man. I looked at what is causing the problem. He said, a way he does things, but he can't see it. Because he's a good person, he means well. So I said, okay. I prayed, I said, Lord, how do you help a person change? So of course, the information that is available to them, association, and then set some type of examples, let him see each time you do it. So okay, I started investing. It's a graduate thing. Very interesting. I said, let's see. Recently, I recommended a school. I noticed that he's attending. I recommend books. He buys it, he reads. I recommend tapes. He will take it. Then I'll recommend changes. He will gladly do it. Now, recently, I know that some of those people are wondering, how can they say this person is, I can't deal with him, I can't do that? How do you do it? Marriage is the closest bond that is possible between two people. I'm talking about intimacy, invasion of privacy. This bond extends from is legal, is social, is emotional, is physical. There is no other means of getting closer to another human being. It is this extraordinary closeness which propels us into marriage. Without intimacy, life becomes horrible. It becomes horribly cold and lonely. So we plunge ourselves into marriage and give our hearts in exchange to another to discover the deepest and most radical. It is the deepest and the most radical expression of connection possible to human beings. But seasoned couples also discover that such closeness can be exhausting. It pulls our very identity into the vortex of another human life that can leave us little room to breathe. This intimacy. Intimacy leaves us nowhere to hide. It's like you hired a private detective in your house who is watching everything. Continue. Watch. Marriage causes us to submit to the humility of being known in all our phoniness and pride, in all our frailty, and the blackness of our sins. Somebody just knows you, things that you don't normally want people to know and see. Who cares really to be known that well by another person? Who wants to live under scrutiny and surveillance? But this is the price that marriage puts on intimacy. This is the price marriage puts on intimacy. It sweeps away our defenses, increases the probability of pain. There is no one who can stand up to the day in and day out demand of intimacy and not get hurt. Whereas in most other relationships, our vulnerability can be hidden or guarded at times. Marriage strips us of all protection with our spouse because he or she has been allowed into our inner sanctum, like your holiest of holies. Our partner has witnessed our naked soul by virtue of being our soulmate. Continue. Marriage makes us accountable to one another. Where are you coming from? Who is that person calling? You know what this guy? That accountability is both the best and the worst part of marriage. For some places you really want to do, don't want anybody to disturb you. You know, do your own stuff, especially men. It keeps you sane. That's a good part, but it also drives you crazy. The personal information your spouse knows about you that makes you feel most vulnerable. This is the kind of information you don't want talked about with others. It is the information you don't want used against you in times of conflict. Some of the things you opened up and shared. So because intimacy makes us so vulnerable to potential pain, we need to be very clear with each other that certain things are off limits. If you don't want intimacy to become a problem, I had to sit down with Pastor Sarah and we drew some boundaries. One of them, you don't take my phone and start scrolling my text. You don't try it in that house. You don't try it. And you will never see me. You will never see me carry her phone. Am I a mad person? Give me her. The men, I'm giving the men freedom, eh? That you are married does not mean anything to such people. There are plenty. When you even say you are married, they tell you it's better. Now, what if you are the type of woman you go around reading your husband, you meet this type, wahala starts? That's being foolish. That's being foolish. That's why there are boundaries. There are boundaries. Even though you are married, you have to also understand that apart from certain boundaries to protect your marriage, you have to know that there are boundaries. For example, let me show you 5 types of boundaries. But for example, we need to be clear of certain things that are off limit. Let me give you an example. Ridicule we suffered as a child, for example. Difficulty in relationship we currently have with a parent. Maybe somebody was abused and you told your spouse about. You don't use it tomorrow. Maybe somebody like Pastor Sarah came out from a divorce and tomorrow you just start saying, you use that and start, that's hitting below the belt. You know? So to use them against us will be like hitting below the belt. Okay, go up. When intimacy becomes invasion, it is a sign, a good idea that you need to draw boundary lines to provide for personal space. Look at 5 types of boundaries, for example. Spiritual boundary. Just because I'm married does not mean that, for example, as you see me here, I'm a pastor. Or even all called people, they have rooms that you don't enter. Am I correct? Now, I don't have a room that you don't enter, but I have quiet time. I have study. I have the period when I have to study to hear from God to be useful. When I enter there, where it's 1 hour, 2 hours, whatever, you don't come there to. Pastor Sarah has time of prayer. I have. I know when that's not the time to come there and start misbehaving. I don't. You respect people's privacy. If you don't, you are trying to choke a person with love that if you're not careful, that love will start coming out of their nostrils and all that. That's when sometimes the so-called intimacy turns sour. Because some ladies don't know how to keep that balance. Some men too. They choke you to death with love. Now what is meant to be good becomes repulsive. There are physical boundaries. Like, while I believe that a man and a woman should share a bed in the night and all that, I also believe that if you can afford it, let her have her own room. Simple. It's as simple as that. She can afford it. Unless you are in a situation where maybe you live in one room, maybe 1 room and parlor. But if we have up to a flat, that's my own policy. Up to a flat. You should have your room, I have my room. Whoever else is in that house can share the other one. You sleep in my room, but when you wake up, you go to your room. So when you want to hang all those bra, hang pants, hang it to your place. Well, let me give you an example of property boundary. Just because we're in love, does it mean you share toothbrush? Maybe you do. Doc. Just because we're in love, does it mean you share pants? That's what some people do. They say, all your money are my money, all your whatever are my money. So it doesn't mean you can just go to her account and start withdrawing things. I can't understand such things. You have to respect the person. The person is still a person. Please, can I use this your Bible and all that and all that? And if I see that a Bible becomes a concern, I buy how. Don't want little things. These are things that people don't set boundaries on. It will be causing wahala every day. And you need to see where people are quarreling over this thing. Wahala. Then car. So you drove out with the car, and I kept standing out there. You kept me standing. I had an appointment. That one, marriage is sharing. But what I'm saying is that there are some areas where you can have. Man, he made them male and female. Adam and Eve, not Adam and Steve. So where you can afford some things, share, manage. But there are some things you shouldn't share. Manage to you. I'll give you another example of property bound. When you notice that one person is scatter. If he touches razor disappears. Where is the razor? You can't find it. If it touches comb disappears. See the simple rule. Buy her a set of comb. These are your combs, and I notice that you always this is a packet of razor. Because if you see how razor causes problem in marriage, razor, filing, nail file. If you see how it causes wahala, this is your pack. But in case it disappears, before you take my own, ask. It's simple. And say, no, my husband, I can take anything I like and order. You are going to have wahala. You're going to have wahala. Respect sexual boundaries. You believe in anal sex, you believe in oral sex, you believe in. What if the other person is not comfortable with that? Don't force it. Do the ones that are normal. Don't force it. No, you are my wife, you must go through it. It's not true. It's not. Some people believe in anal sex. I'm not going to come here to tell you whether it's right or wrong. It's not my business. You people are married. If you can do it and you're all right with it, you won't see anybody in heaven accusing you. Doc, you are the one that will tell us medical side. I don't know about that one. But you believe in oral. Some people say, oral is not holy. There is nothing that is not holy or holy or unholy or there. It's a matter of two of you enjoy it. But the question will now come when one person cannot. You don't have fun at the other person's expense. It's no more love that you're doing. I think they call it love making. It's now pain making or torture making. I told you where you need people to change, invest in their growth, invest in their mind. Because some places, some people think this thing is this way. You expose them to healthy materials over time. You see them. And some people you think that are not sexually active can become more active than you, that you are the one. Like I have one couple I worked on now. He said, I'm the one running now. This woman, I don't know, I can't even satisfy her again. I finished now, you want to rest, she's back. But before, he is one that used to conduct. I don't know. Pastor, talk to my wife. She's too, I don't know what it is. Yes. She doesn't know that it's a carton that has not been opened. Because he married her pure. And she hasn't known anything. And she was just beginning to. So, emotional boundaries. This one is very serious. Confident. Things that people tell you, things about themselves, deep things. Don't use it against them. And don't go and start telling other people about it. Before you do that, you shouldn't even do that. Your wife should have you as her greatest confidant. The same thing. There are things you can't talk about. You should go to bed with other people's secrets. Not even only marriage. There are things that other people entrusted to you that should never be heard anywhere. Can you imagine God if He shares all the information He has heard from us, all the things that people come, So, all of those 5 things, good things that can turn bad, all of them have their content like this, but I just have to stop here. At the end of a long day, stressful day, for example, you may need to acknowledge that you need time yourself to decompress before interacting with your spouse. Set up boundaries that mark off personal time and personal issues. Marriage can benefit from property lines, Yes, these are the lines that tell our partner that it is okay to borrow my sweatshirt, but not okay to borrow my toothbrush. Or it is okay to read my magazine, but not my emails. Set such boundaries, and they will make your marriage more interesting. God bless you.
Have you been impacted by this message? Please share your experience with Pastor David Ogbueli. Email address dominionimagemedia@yahoo.com or call 017926879, 0803-435-7959, 0803-590-9900.